Andy, we've got a question from Heather.
We do. She says, hi, Andy, Big Al, and Joe. I appreciate you taking the time to read my questions and possibly do some spitballing. That is what we do on this show, apparently. I discovered your podcast last year, and now I'm hooked. I've been a listener to some older episodes, and in the process, I think you have saved me from making a tax mistake for 2021. So thank you. It might be time for a new CPA. That's always nice to hear.
Right.
I'm self-employed and have always had a SEP IRA. A few years ago, I figured out I was getting raked over the coals in fees from a CFP I was working with. Apparently, she needs a new CFP as well. Now I'm trying to manage things myself, and I'm still learning. I recently discovered solo 401ks and Roth 401ks, which seem like a much better option than my SEP since I don't have employees. I called my CPA to confirm I could contribute both a SEP and solo 401k for 2021, and he said I could. After listening to podcast 344, I started trying to figure out how to do the mega backdoor Roth, the megatron, especially since you discussed taking advantage of the current QBI deduction. In my research, I discovered that my CPA might be incorrect and that I'm not able to have both solo 401k and 5305 SEP. As a result of the...
I'll chime in there. Your CPA was wrong. You cannot have a SEP IRA and a solo 401k in the same year. Right. That's to do a SEP IRA, it has to be your only pension plan. Mm-hmm. Right. So that one's easy. So what else do we got?
All right. That takes care of that one. As a result of discovery, I now have a ton of questions. If you could spitball some of this stuff I'm trying to figure out, it would make me so happy. I would like to do the Megatron backdoor Roth for 2021, if possible. If not, I'd like to for 2022. My account provider, E-Trade, offers both solo 401k and Roth 401k. They changed their solo 401k plan in 2021 to offer non-deductible employee contributions. I've already contributed $19,500 to the Roth 401k for 2021, which I believe is the employee side. Would I need some kind of TPA or other additional plan documents in order to Megatron on the solo side? My CPA said that since I'm self-employed that I don't, but I'm not feeling confident that he knows what he's doing. I set up the account in 2021, but didn't submit their updated paperwork to take advantage of the after-tax option until a couple of weeks ago. Would that be an issue? If I'm allowed to do it, so it looks like those would be entirely employee contributions instead of employer?
The rules used to be you had to set up a 401k, solo 401k, safe harbor, regular 401k by December 31st of the tax year that you're in. And with the Secure Act, it was changed slightly. You could actually now set up the 401k after the fact, actually all the way to the due date of the business returns, which would be October 15th if you're a sole proprietor, and you don't have an entity. However, that's only good for the employer contributions. The employee contributions require you to have set up the plan before or by December 31st. And you have to basically elect that you can do deferrals, which is part of a normal plan anyway. Mm-hmm. So nothing special there. So you would be, Heather, you'd be out of luck for a solo 401k with at least with the employee portion, which would include the $19,500 that you can contribute, as well as you wouldn't be able to do the after-tax money because that's an employee contribution. So you couldn't do that for 2021. You could make the employer contribution, which is 25% of your profits, which, by the way, is the same as the SEP IRA. So if it's easier to just do the SEP IRA for 2021, because you're going to get the same deduction either way, 25% of your profits, then that would be a way to go there. But you would want to set up the 401k for 2022 so you could do those employee contributions.
Yeah, it looks like she did do the contribution for 2021. I think she was more looking at like the employer side. I think my thought is, I mean, all these 401ks are a little different unless you actually build one out and hire a TPA to do it. E-Trade is probably going to be her best bet potentially, right? Because if they have the after-tax component, I don't know if the prototype allows for that, but most 401k plans don't even allow a Roth anymore. So yeah, I mean, if she can do the Roth, I mean, that's great.
Yeah, if E-Trade offers the Roth component as well as the after-tax component,
And she's
then-
got the cash to do it.
yeah, then that's a great way to go. And I guess maybe we should talk just briefly about the after-tax component, mega backdoor Roth or megatron is what we
Yeah.
call it sometimes on this show.
Mhm.
What is that, Kyle?
Yeah, essentially, some 401k plans have three components to them. There's the pre-tax portion where you're able to defer income before you pay taxes on it. There's a Roth component potentially where you pay the taxes up front and you put the money in. But there's a third option that not many people know about, and it's after tax or post-tax, post-80. Sometimes they call it different stuff, but essentially it's excess employee contributions. And as long as those contributions do not exceed the IRS limit, those are monies that can go into the 401k plan. You don't get a tax benefit for it today, but the good news is that a lot of times the plan will allow those after-tax contributions to be moved out of the plan into a Roth IRA. So it's kind of like supercharging or megalodon or all these fancy names.
Megalodon, that's a new one.
Yeah, that is a new
Whatever.
one. Yeah,
It's fancy names.
I like it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a way to do a giant Roth contribution, right?
Mhm.
In a sense, but of course your plan has to allow that. And so whether it allows it in plan or whether it allows an in-service withdrawal, so you can send it to a Roth IRA, that's that it would have to do that.
Mhm.
All right, Andy, why don't we continue?
Yep. She says, do you think it would be smart to roll a solo into a Roth 401k or Roth IRA? Is there any benefit for one over the other? If I did it over to a Roth IRA, would that help to avoid the 5,500 form that needs to be filed once the account reaches 250K?
Yeah, well, the advantage of rolling to a Roth 401k or Roth IRA is all future growth income principal is tax-free. You do pay tax on what you convert. That's called a Roth conversion. I assume if you're talking about the traditional 401k, if you're talking about the money that's already in the 401k, if you could roll that out to a Roth IRA and keep your total account below 250,000, you could potentially avoid the annual filing of the 5,500. So that can work.
She continues, I file a Schedule C and my 1099 was 144K for 2021, and I have one rental property. If I had enough deductions for my MAGI to reach 125K, I was hoping to contribute $6,000 to a regular Roth IRA. I already did, since I thought I could contribute pre-tax dollars to my SEP account to help lower the MAGI, modified adjusted gross income. I may have made a mistake with my SEP account for 2019. I had opened an additional SEP account because I had a Vanguard managed account and I was trying to avoid paying more fees. Is it okay to have more than one SEP account for the same business? I can't seem to find a clear answer online. And I may have opened a third account in 2021 because I didn't enjoy the funding process with the second provider. Oops. If I did make a mistake, will I have to correct it on my 2019 and 2020 tax returns, or is that something that I could ignore and hope for the best?
There's no limit on the number of SEP IRA accounts you have. And I guess if you funded more than one in a particular year, you'd have to aggregate them together in terms of it could be no more than 25% of your profits. So no, I don't see a mistake here other than that's a lot of paperwork to try
a lot of statements.
Yeah, right. Try to keep track of, but no, I think you're okay.
She says, I think I can still pull the money out that I contributed to 2021 to the SEP. Or could another option be to open a prototype SEP and roll everything into that? If not, going forward, if I wanted to do a mix of pre-tax and after-tax contributions, E-Trade said that I can have more than one solo account with the same plan name and sequence number. If I need to pay for plan documents, do you think it would be worth the cost considering the mega might not be around much longer?
Since we're almost out of time, I'm going to take it simply, which is, if you've already contributed for 2021 to the SEP, I would just keep that in there because the solo K, that's all you're going to be able to do anyway, which is the 25% of profits, which is the same as the SEP. I'd probably stick with the SEP for 2021. 2022, I would make sure you get that 401k in place so you can do those employee contributions as well, so you can get a lot more in.
Yeah, and the other thing with the SEP too is you can't do Roth SEP, right? There's no Roth SEP.
No Roth SEP.
If she wants to do, pre-tax, or she wants to do her Roth 401k contributions, and then, the employer side is going to be the deferred, she could do that.
Right.
Are you prepared for retirement? Schedule a free financial assessment with an experienced financial professional right online at purefinancial.com.